I hadn't done anything different that day. It started off very normal, in fact. I woke up to the blaring alarm clock, I brushed my teeth, I fixed a breakfast, and ate it. I kissed my mom goodbye and dashed out the front door, swinging my backpack with me. I sat on the bench at the bus stop, waiting for the bus to arrive. I get there early every day, just to be sure. The only thing different that I could recall would be the grass. It looked a little greener. As I entered the bus and found a seat at my usual spot near the back of the bus, I rested my headphones on my head and listened to some music. I usually listen to the melodier songs in the morning. As time passed, the bus quickly filled with people. It was a school bus. The children were chatty and teasing and twisting and shouting. There were normal kids with head. There were normal kids. With the headphones, however, all I could hear was music, soft piano layered with melodic, spacey harp and horn. I didn't listen to normal music. We reached the school with the headphones still on, and I got up with the rest of the children and became a drop in the rushing ocean of children, not eager for class, but eager to arrive. School was loud and busy, the classrooms filled with students and teachers who went on teaching all matters of subjects. While students remained restless and less empathetic about the knowledge, I met up with my friends at recess. I played basketball with Tommy and Mitchell. They were my closest friends on the playground. After we tired of basketball, we went and dug around the rocks and wood chips that edged the enclosure, looking for bugs and worms. I distinctly remember the moment just before the blackout. We were taking long wood chips and poking the dirt with them. I joked with Mitchell about what we would do if we found a little bug friend. Tommy said he would squish it, but we laughed, knowing he wouldn't ever do anything like that. The giggle resided, and I shifted my gaze to the dirt, smiling and stabbing away. For 3 years, I've been having these episodes, as my mom would call them. They'd occur every few months or so, just when we thought they were gone for good. To my mom, it was just I'd just go limp and black out, waking up about 45 minutes later in a hospital bed with doctors around me. My mother knew nothing about my experience during the 45 minutes of being blacked out. Imagine a night of sleep where you don't remember your dreams, where it is a brief blackness that is ended by your eyes waking up to the morning light or your ears sucking you to reality from an alarm. That's what I saw, except in that darkness there is a figure. The faces shrouded and detailed are indistinguishable. It didn't feel like a dream either. Rather, this figure had been watching me all my life. I just now peered through another world and met his gaze. He just waited and watched it. Nothing had been said and nothing moved, but I knew he was there. I got that recognizable feeling of another presence with me. As I stabbed at the dirt, the episode began. I recognized this at the beginning as something as I felt my eyes were about to pop out of my face, but then my breathing had already stopped and I couldn't speak. My fingertips began to tingle, my face began to burn hot and blood pooled to me. A horrible sensation deep inside my stomach wrenched and tore me. At this point, I lost my vision and consciousness. I didn't remember ever hitting the dirt. I was in my blackness again. This had happened so many times before that I thought I had become familiar with this figure. As well as the blackness, I was ready to meet him and to stare into his strange gaze. However, for the first time, I struck with fear. The figure was there in the blackness, but I feared it. It hadn't before. It was strange, but I just wanted it to end. Yes, the figure said. I heard his voice with chilling clarity. It was deep and old. You are. He took an inhale, as if he just completed a long, daunting task. Done. Done? That's it? I woke up on the playground. The sun had moved to the other side of the sky, so time had passed. It was a dark silent. Looking around, the lot was completely empty. I got up confused. Usually I wake up in a hospital or on the floor of the office with the teachers gathering around. I approached the glass door to enter the school. Peering through the glass, I saw nobody. I walked inside the office. I sat in the chair by the door to regain my thoughts. I heard the rustling of the paper and looked up. I saw a folder flying through the air from the main desk down the corridor. Quickly, I got up and followed the folder. Down the corridor, a door opened and the folder drifted in. I followed and watched the folder approach the desk. The chair turned and the folder flopped down on the table. I bolted out of the office, feeling alone and confused. I ran to the classroom and saw a piece of chalk writing on a chalkboard. I panicked and left the school. I saw cars driving in the streets without passengers, doors open for no people, gardens being gardened by floating tools. I couldn't see people. After very long, maybe 2 weeks or months, I noticed a few things. I couldn't see my reflection. I could have guessed that. What interesting, however, is that I don't seem to get hungry or need to eat. I just wander around looking at things. The boredom drove me crazy. The only thing worse than boredom was the loneliness. I kept myself company by talking to myself while I aimlessly wandered the city streets. Houses, stores, and parks, and anywhere my feet could take me. I'd watch as people I couldn't see went about their daily lives. The wandering eventually became an interesting task for me. I would go for very long walks during the day, counting the number of people, home addresses I'd see, floating houses, watering lawns, and drifting helmet riding bicycles. At night, I would go sprinting through the street, dashing under streetlights. I came up upon a library that kept me busy for a long period. I scanned the bookshelves and read almost half the books in the entire place. I just sat along other floating books, knowing somebody invisible is getting a good read. I'm able to retain information very well. One day I came across a cemetery. I spent a long, well, I spent a long while scanning the tombstones, reciting the names to see if any rang a bell. I recognized a few last names as of my old friends. I would look up at the date and count how many years they'd lived to be. Sometimes I'd see incomplete dates, tombstones to those yet to die. This humbled me as I pondered those planning to death for death. I felt sorry for them. Sometimes come back and find the incomplete dates completed. The dirt freshly turned, I'd go along row by row. At night, I couldn't read them, so I sprinted through the street. At night, I couldn't read them, so I sprinted through the streets, dodging cars that couldn't see me. Today, I was finishing up my cemetery walk. I came across a tombstone with my name on it. The realization hit me hard, but it makes more sense now. The birth year and the death year were both engraved. I stared at it for a while. You wouldn't believe how upset I was. I thought one day I'd wake up and see my mom again. I thought maybe I was in the hospital and I'd wake up, get better, and go back to school to play with Tommy and Mitchell. I think I cried, but I understood that it probably didn't have real tears. After sitting for a while, an idea occurred to me that hadn't before, and that how, and that's how I got here. I knew I could interact with objects in this afterlife, but I also knew that the living lived among me as well. I went to my old house. It was more familiar. I got my computer and typed what I knew. I submitted it to the website where hopefully it won't gain too much attention. Creepypastas, where stories like these abundant, but fictional mostly. I guess it's mostly just writing this to organize my thoughts about what had happened, especially with total realization. I doubt I'd be actually able to actually send any sort of messages to the living world. I had tried before, to no avail. Oh well, it's not like I don't have time to waste.